There is something fairly new we want to show you today here on the Fort Omaha campus of Metropolitan Community College. We're on the northwest corner of the parade ground here at the fort. And what you're going to see is the new gazebo. This very cool structure takes the place of a similar one from more than a century ago that was here. It's a great story, and we're about to fill you in. I'm your host, Kent Pavelka, and you'll learn all about it coming up next on Metro and More. Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online. We are back on the parade ground here at MCC's Fort Omaha campus, site of the new gazebo, and here to tell us about it is Kathy Altz, the Executive Director of the Douglas County Historical Society, which also is located on the fort here at MCC. Kathy, tell our viewers, first of all, the connection between the Douglas County Historical Society, MCC, and more specifically the Fort Omaha campus, and then this gazebo.
Sure. I first became involved with the gazebo project when I spoke to Mrs. Willa Seaman. She and her husband Lee had been members of the Douglas County Historical Society for many years, and she contacted me with this lovely story about how she remembered when she was a child, her great aunt, which would have been her aunt, she was known as Bertie, but her name was Carrie Mae Ballback, and Mrs. Seaman's great aunt told her stories about riding in a horse-drawn carriage to come to Fort Omaha and listen to bands that played in the bandstand. It was known as a bandstand then, rather than a gazebo.
What year are we talking about?
Well, it would have been early 1900s.
Early 1900s.
And we believe that the original bandstand existed in 1896, so probably built in the late 1890s. And she probably would have the time period for Carrie Mae coming here probably would have been the early 1900s, sometime after 1905 perhaps. They would come here and listen to bands. So we started to look in our archives center to see if we had any photographs or any information about the gazebo, and found this great picture of a horse-drawn carriage coming through the fort, headed toward the bandstand. So Mrs. Seaman had this vision of being able to replace that bandstand with a new one, and put it in the same place along by the parade ground as we are here today, and had this vision of making it come true so that future generations can enjoy the same thing that her aunt did so many years ago.
So we're working on 125 years ago at least, right? But we really don't know a lot about that first bandstand, do we? We don't.
We know it was a wooden structure. It was a military fort. It was certainly not as elegant as this by any means. But we know that the fort was very much a community center where people would come and listen to the military bands playing, watch the troops practice on the parade ground, listen to the music there, listen to music at the bandstand. And there's newspaper articles talking about over 20,000 people coming and listening to music at the fort. And so Mrs. Seaman's vision was really to bring that back again and have an opportunity where people could come and listen to music. Perhaps one of the things that was dear to her was be able to make it a lovely structure where people might come and be married. So they could have their wedding here, and that there'd be beautiful flowers around. And I'm very excited to see that come true for her.
Aesthetically, it's just beautiful. We're here on a really hot summer's day, but before it's going to get hot later in this day. But there's breeze. Let's take a look at this structure as it's been built here, and of course we assume, as I think you indicated, the first one was wood.
Yes.
And this one obviously has stone uprights. Do we know about the size comparison?
We don't. We did not have measurements of the former one. We don't.
So there are stone columns holding up the gazebo's top here. pergola almost like.
Right.
And
I think that the placement is in the same place as the former one.
Uh-huh.
So it was probably approximately the same size. And this one definitely is a stone structure. It also has electricity, which I'm sure that one probably did not. It's a very sturdy structure and a beautiful structure that could be used, as Mrs. Seaman had hoped, for weddings and parties.
what I find amazing is the little history we do know about the gazebo is that, as you indicated, it was used as a focal point for entertainment for the community.
Right.
Talk a little bit, as far as you know, about this part of Omaha being a place of gathering. Do you know much about that? I mean, it's the North Omaha area?
Well, I don't. Well, I think that the fort throughout the years certainly has been a community place. I've heard many stories over the years of people that were not involved in the military that would come and say, "Oh my gosh, I used to come swim there."
Really?
I would always go swimming at the swimming pool. I loved to go to the swimming pool, and they had lots of parties. Like they would have swim contests, and they would have all kinds of parties and games associated with the holidays. So people would come, non-military families would come to the fort for games for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
They would come for Memorial Day weekend activities at the fort. So it was really a community gathering spot through all the years that the fort's been open.
I guess the thing that struck me, and you know way more about Omaha's history than I do in Douglas counties, why this area instead of downtown, or was downtown even downtown back in those days?
Well, it certainly was downtown, but I think the difference was because of the military running it and the military having these provisions for the families that lived here.
So there were amenities here already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The amenities were here. They were going to do the activities, so they welcomed the community.
Tell us a little bit more about the Seamans. Is it Seamans plural? Seaman.
It is a Seaman.
Seaman.
Seaman was a ballback. Mrs. Seaman was a Davis, but her mother was a ballback. Mm-hmm. So Mrs. Dorothy Davis was Mrs. Seaman's mother.
Okay.
And so she was Dorothy Ballback Davis. And so Dorothy's aunt was Carrie Mae Ballback, which would be Willa's great aunt. And she's the lady that told the story about coming here. So it was Dorothy's grandfather. It was a brother to Carrie Mae. And so the Ballback family was a prominent family. They were involved in the smelting business. And Charles Ballback, known as Carl Ballback, which was Carrie Mae and Carl's father, they had come here to consult and help with building the smelting business and the smelting company here in Omaha, and they had come here from New Jersey. So this is honoring, there's a plaque on the gazebo honoring Carl and Carolyn Ballback, which were Mrs. Seaman's ancestors.
Yes.
So it's really a nod to the whole Ballback family and certainly her great aunt that inspired this.
As I mentioned at the beginning, I don't want the show to get away from us without you just touching on the fact that the Douglas County Historical Society is located here.
Yes.
And the relationship between the fort and the college and
Yes.
the society.
Yeah, the Douglas County Historical Society operates 2 buildings here at the fort, and we partnered with Metropolitan Community College and reside in the 2 buildings, the General Cookhouse Museum, which is open 7 days a week, and then the Library Archive Center, which is designated as the official repository of history for Douglas County. And so we do this kind of research for a lot of people really all over the world. And one of the things that the Douglas County Historical Society has a relationship with, a continuing relationship with the gazebo, is that just as Mrs. Seaman had wished, we're able to rent out the gazebo for people if they'd like to book it for weddings. So if anybody's interested in doing that, they can contact us and reserve the space.
That was going to be my next question. I don't know how much of that has been done up to this point. Maybe people don't know.
They don't know. We haven't really launched any advertising or marketing for that because it's so new yet. But we're really excited to see that happen. And I think Mrs. Seaman will be very pleased when we can tell her about the first wedding here. Weddings,
what else maybe? Little concert?
Parties, concerts, and certainly there's lights here, so we could do evening concerts, and it would just be really a great space, and that's something that the Douglas County Historical Society, looks to be able to do and invite the community to come for something like that as well. And I'm sure it'll be a space that the college will use for many different activities as well.
What more do you know about what existed around the fort back in the days? And we're talking about the late 1890s now, or mid-1890s.
Well, certainly, when it was originally set up as an Indian Wars facility, there was a supply station, really. Probably the most prominent thing that the fort is known for is the Standing Bear trial.
Yes.
And General Crook working with Standing Bear and being a part of that Standing Bear trial, which was such important history for the country as well as for Douglas County, and the fact that Standing Bear and the other Indians that were with him that left the reservation in Oklahoma were held as prisoners here. And so that's probably the most prominent story about the fort and the important significance of that trial, landmark trial that happened here in downtown Omaha.
Kathy, the other thing that is striking about the gazebo is, although it's made of probably better materials than
Much
back
better,
in the
I'm
day,
sure.
It was built to a great degree to feel and look like the old
Absolutely.
one. Yeah.
Absolutely, and to serve kind of the same purpose,
Yeah.
really, which is pretty amazing that after all these years, it's still important to provide that community environment and that community welcoming to the fort.
Yeah. And most of the fort, as you alluded to, has
Yeah.
that same
Looks the
historical
same.
value.
Exactly.
Yeah. How much work do you do at the Douglas County Historical Society like this project for people?
Well,
Do you want to do more of it?
we certainly. I mean, we help people with all different kinds of projects. I mean, a lot of times they're looking. It's genealogical research. They're trying to find out information about a family member, or they heard a story and they're trying to verify if it's true. But sometimes we're just trying to help them find their family story, and doing that through documents that we have or helping them with research. A lot of times it's people that are trying to find out information about a building. I heard my family used to own a business downtown, in the early 1900s. I'm not sure where it was. Can you help me figure that out? So really trying to help people connect with their family past.
Yeah. And the project like this, of course, takes financial donation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you need that.
Absolutely. The Seaman family underwrote the costs to have this built and worked, of course, with the college for the construction and to see that this happened. But as far as the Historical Society, we charge a nominal amount for some of the extensive research that we do if it's a big project. But primarily we operate on donations to the Historical Society and the work that we do and the programs that we do, and through our membership program. We have about 600 members that are loyal regulars that support the work that we do. So it's really through contributions and a small amount through event admissions that support the work that we do.
And if folks are interested in becoming a member or get any more information about the Douglas County Historical Society,
Right.
I assume the website.
Absolutely. The website would be your go-to place to go. You can sign up through the website, but certainly anybody can always call us and we can send out information if they're not comfortable enrolling through the website.
Any other final thought about our story here?
Well, I just think it's a great testament to the history of the fort. And the charitable people that we were lucky enough to have in our community that think about the importance of history, and they're willing to share their money so that we can continue to offer this kind of thing to the families in the future.
Very good. Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you for joining us for this look at this brand new gazebo, which replicates one from more than 100 years ago here at the Fort Omaha campus. For Metro and more, I'm Kent Pavelka. If you have comments or questions about the program, please email us at metrovision@mccneb.edu. Thanks for watching.
This has been a MetroVision production produced by Metropolitan Community College.